Keep them DCOMs rolling.
Right.
Cut it up, cut it up, cut it up. A whole new pod. Howdy, partners. This here is Sheriff Lucas Melby.
This is Deputy Jacob Telejohn.
We running this. This is a whole new pod ranch. We got a.
Not the dressing kind either.
It's okay here. All right, Jacob. He killed that, buried it 6 feet down under there. But if you could make it through our not offensive accents, this is a whole new podcast about Disney Channel original movies and all that can entail, and it can be a lot. We've already said ourselves who we are, Lucas Melby, and
Jacob Telejohn.
We're just going to do that on repeat in different ways for the whole episode. Just keep introducing ourselves. We, as we mentioned in our last episode, and you can probably pick up here because you didn't hear him sigh or something, we are Samless this week.
Samless.
I don't know quite on the schedule when we will expect him back. It might be in 3 episodes. It might be next one. Who knows? We didn't invite him either for this episode. He made me mad off air. So
on his birthday.
Well, yeah. Sam likes to dredge up a lot of background information about us, old grudges or whatever. We don't need to do that here. Because while we talked about in the last episode that this movie maybe wasn't one we were the most excited about, it turned out to be one that I still took a lot of notes about. So it could be a reasonable length episode again. That movie is, of course, Horse Sense, starring the Lawrence brothers, or 2 of the Lawrence brothers, Andrew and Joey, I believe, who we did a little bit of research. It's a new thing for this show to do a little bit of research.
Little background.
But they were stars. They were kind of like
brotherly love.
Yeah, they're kind of like the Hanson brothers if they were Disney Channel stars.
Huh.
So Brotherly Love was a Disney Channel show, ran for, it looks like, a couple of seasons.
Wow.
And we, I think, can expect them to show up in some other Disney Channel original movies, including at least one sequel to Horse Sense, where Andrew and Joey will reprise their characters. But enough preamble there. Let's start where all good things begin, which is
opening title card.
The beginning, where we always start. This one, nothing too much to write home about. It's got a little jaunty Western style music playing as we get the title of Horse Sense in front of some cattle on a cattle farm.
Yeah, there's the farmhouse in the background, and we see Horse Sense over, not horses, but yes, the cattle.
And we'll find out eventually that this ranch is in Montana.
Yeah.
But I will say this opening credit sequence is one that I knew before we even started this podcast, because to be a good millennial, I could talk about one of my favorite YouTubers that I follow, who goes by the name Nakey Jakey, who does a lot of video game related content, but also recently has got into, like all good millennials, gotta mind that vein of 90s nostalgia. Jeez. So he's talked about Disney Channel original movies.
And Horse Sense?
Well, so that's the thing where he does all of his videos where he's just on a green screen constantly and will just throw up random things that are related or not.
And that's what he used?
And he, for whatever reason, puts the opening title sequence of Horse Sense up all the time.
That's a little different.
But he did do a video about Disney Channel original movies, so that could be one of relevant interest to the listeners to check out. Not that I want to,
plug,
give away too much of our material. Like, hey, this is the main DCOM source you should be going to, but it's a short little video that is enjoyable. So this is, for me, an iconic opening title sequence, even if it's really nothing to write home about. We're then first introduced to our first character, Tommy, who is being called by his mom, who we'll learn its name is Jules, to come down to breakfast. She's got a big country breakfast.
Big helping of eggs and...
There's a lot. There's eggs, sausage, pancakes.
And 2 grown adult men.
Well, not quite yet. We'll get introduced to them later. But yes, it's a very hearty breakfast that would probably not be very good for your heart as well. But it looked pretty good to me.
Hearty.
Yeah. Thank you for spelling it out, my hilarious joke.
I had to.
Tommy is up in his room. He's carving a whistle that we'll learn is for his cousin Michael, because
and it has an M etched into it.
Yep, that he's being flown to where Michael lives in California, and that's why his mom's calling for him, because he's going to miss his plane. But he's working on this whistle because when they had last met, which was at a family reunion, Michael had liked, I guess, a whistle he had made for him there so much. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to get him another whistle.
Yes. What happened to the first one, though? We never got the closure on the whistle.
I guess it was like a prototype whistle, maybe. So he had really honed his craft and finished the final product.
That makes sense.
So after breakfast, they hop in the good old truck on the farm.
Trusty
driving out there. Tommy asks, Mom, what's California like? And she says, well, it's a little different. Then we get a smash cut to a very iconic California image, I guess, which is a video alarm clock that our main character, Michael, has in his room. That is just a smiling mouth, a close-up on a woman's mouth.
It's really creepy. It's like a moving image. It's like a video alarm clock.
It feels like something that should be in like Xenon or some other weirder, more fantastical DCOM.
Do you remember what time he was waking up at?
Probably like 9 o'clock.
It was probably really late. It was probably late. It wasn't 4:30.
Yeah, but it's some smiling woman's mouth saying, wake up, Proto Siri or something.
And he's got a creepy smile on his face as he's waking up to the creepy Siri.
So, despite being, well, I guess maybe not despite, but they're brothers, but there's quite an age difference as far as we're talking about the actors here.
Not in the movie. They're not brothers separated
Tommy and Michael in the movie are cousins. In real life, they're brothers, but there's quite the age difference. Tommy is probably like, I don't know.
10 or 12?
In the movie, I think he's
12.
supposed to be 10. I don't know his real life age, but in the movie, Tommy's 10, Michael is 20. So quite an age difference there. And Michael they really hammer home some fun little jabs at Californians, or at least upper class Californians, that still somewhat remains true today, and is a rare instance because a lot of these DCOMs have taken place in California or like type things. Well, they get jabs at country people a little bit too, but mostly the butt of the jokes in this movie is Michael. And one of those is we see his maid, who I believe is named Arlene, that she's preparing some kind of smoothie for him.
Arlene's son.
Yeah, she's preparing a smoothie. She's putting I don't know if it's wheatgrass. It's some ridiculous concoction.
Greens.
And she's like, how can you drink this? So weird health trends is something that still remains.
You gotta put some meat on your bones, boys. I got 8% body fat. I'm lean.
He is lean and he's cut. There's some scenes of him in a tank top that I'm sure made some young Disney Channel girl fans go a little wild. I mean, they love the Lawrence brothers.
They love the Lawrence.
Weird health trends are still very much a thing. I was in California the last year around this time and seeing all the different stuff on the menus.
People were drinking the wheatgrass.
All sorts of stuff. Acai bowls are very big. I know I've heard some people say that just going somewhere and ordering a buffalo chicken wrap, they'd be like, do you want chicken for that? As the vegan is the first option. And when he got served at this person said, here's the vegan or non-vegan buffalo chicken wrap, because that's just how they roll in California. But getting back to
turkey bacon.
Yeah, the turkey bacon will come back soon. Coming back to horse sense. Yes. Michael, over his slim breakfast, is talking to his mom, who reminds him that he's supposed to pick up Tommy from the airport. And he drops, I gotta hang out with Gina.
Gina, my girlfriend. She's a big movie star. Her dad's a big movie director.
First I thought she was a movie star, but it seems that her dad is a director or something. And his mom's like, Gina? He's like, yeah. Tornado 2.
Sharknado, that's the first one I had heard.
I like the Disney Channel cinematic universe of fake
Twister.
Movies. So I want to do a lot of stuff with Gina. My schedule's packed, but I should be able to fit Michael in, or Tommy in. And his mom really wants to hit home that he needs to give him a good time because Tommy's fucking sad because his dad has died, at least somewhat in recent memory. Michael's also in college. As being a 20-year-old, he is in college, and we see him just being a generally douchey guy, as is evident with his wardrobe, because he has a sweater tied around his neck.
Yes.
Like some country club person. And also, he's very bad in school. We get a
solid D.
We get to see Gina and Michael in a very interesting class of land trust and management or something, which might just play a role somewhere.
A little foreshadowing there.
In the movie, but he's bad in that class, gets a D, which he says, Any Chances stands for delightful. Not a good joke, but Gina, you're so funny, Michael.
We didn't see what Gina got, but we assume she got a D-.
she might be good, but she's seemingly of class like Michael, where it probably doesn't matter how well she does in school. She's kind of set up. Both are trust fund kids.
Yes.
They're leaving class, and Gina gives Michael a 2-week anniversary gift, or a little bit of an early 2-week anniversary gift.
Nice little watch.
Which is ridiculous, but I think we're supposed to think that. But he looks at the watch and says, "Oh no, I'm late to get Tommy." So he races off in his cool convertible Porsche, or Porsche. However it may be. I think they say Porsche in this movie. He gets Tommy, and Tommy doesn't seem too annoyed that he's at least a half hour or so late.
Probably about an hour. He's, just the traffic, man. The traffic's a little, rough, and Tommy's just smiling.
Let me tell you about the California traffic. Mike, we've already established, wearing the country club attire. Tommy looks pretty dweeby. He's got a button-up shirt, fully buttoned up. He's a little chubby.
Stuff.
Got a cowboy hat on.
Yeah, cowboy vibe.
So they're driving home in the cool car. Tommy keeps trying to talk to Mike, and I think he has the whistle in hand. He's trying to get that whistle out right away.
He's pulling out the whistle, and Mike has to take a phone call from none other than Gina.
Yeah, he has not just a cell phone, but a cool attachment in his car to hook up to the cell phone, so it's, handless, speakerless, or speakerphone, so advanced technology for 1999. Keeps ignoring Tommy to talk to Gina.
And you can already start to see, Tommy's getting a little bummed. Bummed already.
You can see where it's going.
Yeah.
At Mike's house, which is very spacious, very, Beverly Hills, Malibu, Most Wanted
yes.
type thing.
It's a nice house.
Yeah, they got a tennis court, which we'll see in a little bit. So they're there, they're having dinner with Mike and his mom, and his dad will come in a little bit. They're discussing their plans, and Tommy really wants to go to Disneyland, and I don't blame him. Mike's parents, his dad stops in to say, "Oh, we're going to this big fundraising event in Palm Springs, so Mike, show him a good time."
Yeah.
Which we'll see he does not. So the next morning, that night, this is a fun moment.
They go up to the room.
Yeah, so I don't think it's supposed to be like where he's staying, but they have a cool, super sick home theater room. They got candy, they got a popcorn machine.
They got a movie playing in the background.
They got a billion VHSs and the movie. They switch on dramatically, be like, "Yo, check this out." Switch on the screen, and what is playing?
Brink.
Whoa, it's Brink.
Inception.
They really shelled out for the licensing fees of another Disney Channel original movie that at this point was maybe like a year old. I can't remember if that was. I think that one came out in '98. Not a super old one, but a good one. Still one of our favorites. And Tommy is very much into Brink, as any good '90s kid should be. Next morning, Tommy is super excited. He's like, "Yo, we're gonna hang out all day. Me and Mike are gonna have so much fun." But Mike makes some excuse. "Oh, I gotta run. I got stuff to do," and just leaves them alone in the house. So then we get a really sad sequence montage.
He's watching movies. He's playing with the boats at midnight in the pool.
But he's also sadly kicking a soccer ball just alone in the yard.
Bouncing it off his head. He's wearing jeans and all of his warm clothing out in the 90-degree heat, kicking around the ball.
Playing tennis by himself.
There's like 1,000 balls laying on the ground.
He had that machine just shooting balls at him. So at night, we see him, he's watching movies or playing at night, and we just see Mike always on the phone. So it's kind of a multi-part montage, then we get the next day, so this is multi-days that are happening. He's lassoing a statue.
And he's teaching the nanny, or not the nanny, the maid. He's teaching the maid how to lasso.
Yeah, he seems to be making really good friends with the maid. He makes her breakfast.
Yes.
But he's watching so many movies, and we see that because, like any person who's watching VHSs, he just has the stacks of the boxes around him that are empty.
Doesn't put the movies away.
He puts the movie in, finishes it, takes it out, doesn't put it back in the box. If he was at my house, he would drive me fucking crazy. So after a few days have happened, the maid, Arlene, takes Mike aside, takes him to task, and basically says, "You're being a huge fucking dick."
He's been here like a whole week or whatever, and Mike's like, "Oh, we got a whole week," and she's like, "Well, that whole week ends tomorrow."
Yep, because he's leaving tomorrow.
They haven't been to Disneyland.
She's like, will you actually take him? And he says,
Yes.
I never kid about
But-
going to Disneyland.
That's right.
Well, he is being turned into a liar in short shrift right here. And he lies plenty in this movie. So they're on the drive to Disneyland. But lo and behold, Mike gets another call from Gina, who wants him to meet her daddy, who's in town
For the first time.
just for a few hours.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make an exception. He does put up at least somewhat of resistance to I know I need to do this with Tommy, but he caves pretty quick.
He has to take her off his speakerphone to like whisper to her, like, okay, just for 2 minutes. Just for 2 minutes.
So he pulls over at a place called Kitty Zone.
Kettle Zone.
Yeah, when the sign, the eye looks a little weird, so I thought it said Kittle Zone, which I think would be a more fun name. But it's basically a toddler daycare romping room.
I had so much fun here as a kid.
Big indoor. Mike tries to sell it. Oh, this is the fucking most happening place. I had so much fun here, and there's like 4-year-olds running around. So Tommy is definitely nonplussed about it.
No.
Totally. Leaves him there. Mike goes and meets Gina and her daddy.
At a horse track.
Yep, they're betting on the ponies. So they're having a great time. Mike feels that he's staying too long. He wants to leave. But then the dad gets him to stay a little bit longer.
You're winning so much. You're so good at these picks.
We on a roll. We're waving the cash around. I'm on a hot streak. So he stays a little bit longer.
It's a good feeling.
So when he's finally leaving, he's definitely rushing. He's running out, jumps in his car, pulls out real quick.
Backs up into somebody's vehicle.
Yep, gets in a fender bender. Exchanges
a hit and run, if you will.
No.
He called it a hit and run.
Well, that's later when he lies, as he constantly does. So yeah, a fender bender. He exchanges information with the lady he hit.
It's like, I gotta go. I got a family emergency. And so rather than her, she was kind of pissed at him. Then she's like, oh, all of a sudden, she's like, oh, okay. I hope everything's gonna be all right. You know.
Yeah, he's got a silver tongue. He's a quick talker, quick-witted. He can get himself out of almost any situation. We might find one soon that he is not able to get out of. So he goes to the Kitty Zone. We get a fun little segment where he is rushing around inside of the jungle gym.
Yes.
Trying to find Tommy, who he can't. And it gets weird where it starts like swirling around.
I think that's when he got into there was that ball, it was like moving back and forth. I think when he got into that,
it was before that, but you know how
like a mirror.
If you think back to your childhood, playgrounds like this have those like domed windows that you look out of. So he was kind of there. And I don't know. I thought it was gonna be like he was weirdly claustrophobic or something, but it's never mentioned again.
No.
He, I guess, was just moving around so fast. He was running out of air. He was getting dizzy. He leaves the jungle area, the jungle gym area. Talks to the attendant because when he brought Tommy in, he signed him in because that's what parents do. They're like, oh, I'm bringing my child in. Sign out when he leaves. And the attendant said that he was signed out by
Arlene's son.
Yes, the maid who he had called to come pick him up. Mike goes back home, finds Tommy where he's always been, sitting watching TV.
Yeah.
And
you know what you made me go through?
Yeah.
You had me running around.
Tries to come up with an excuse. Tommy's having none of it because he's had a week of excuses from Mike.
And then he tells Tommy, I just kept winning on the horses. And then Tommy gets pissed. He's like, you were betting on horses? That's inhumane. And
he calls it animal abuse.
Yeah, Michael's like, they're just horses. And then Tommy is pissed.
Yep. That night, or sometime after that, Mike's parents have come home. They're asking, oh, well, how was Disneyland, Tommy? And Tommy, for whatever reason, lies to cover for Mike. He's just like, it was the best time of my life.
Everything I expected it to be.
Mike's dad says he sees that the car has a dent in it, and then this is where Mike says, oh, it was a hit and run. I don't know who hit it, what's going on. So Mike is just caught up.
You can tell his dad's he's questioning him there in that moment.
So then Tommy leaves. Michael isn't around. He's in class or something, and he's there with his whistle, which he did not give to Michael, because he did not deserve it, really. That night, Mike's parents are letting him know that they basically know everything. Tommy got home. He told his mom that it was a fucking terrible time, so Tommy's mom, Jules, called
Michael's
her
parents.
Sister or brother. I don't know what the relation is between them. So they know that he was leaving him alone all this time and being a dick. And then some cops stop by to say that Tommy gave the wrong information to the lady he hit. And then it almost kind of was a hit and run, or at least he was being fraudulent in the insurance exchange, which is a big no-no. So, of course, Mike tries to talk his way out of this situation. Oh, I'll pay money for my trust fund to fix the Porsche. And his dad's like, hey, money can't buy everything. Your trust can't fix everything. So Dad comes up with a great punishment because Tommy has a trip coming up. It's like the end of the semester, so the summer's coming up, where he's going to go to Europe for a, in quotations, study trip with Gina and her family.
But not really.
But Dad says, this is in jeopardy right now, and to prove yourself, you're going to Tommy and Jules' ranch for a month, and you're helping out for free.
Yes.
But Dad, no but, son of mine. So we get a cut to Montana, which is basically, I would think, the nightmare of any uppity, yuppie California white folk. We get a cue of some country music coming in. We get to see Mike styling in his best country style. He's all black, like a wannabe Johnny Cash of some kind. And everybody is giving Mike the cold shoulder. All the attendants at the airport, who are all basically cowboys.
Tommy's ratted on me, like everybody's like,
we know what Tommy's. The whole town. So they're just dropping his bags, not handing them to him, which didn't even seem like that much of like a slight. They could have left his bags on the plane, but they nicely put them on the ground for him. And then he's just like, hi, and they're like, look at this city slicker. And Tommy is also not happy to see Mike and kind of isn't giving him the time of day or whatever. So as you can tell, this is definitely going to be a fish out of water movie from basically this point until the end, or at least much of the middle portion is. So Jules, Mike's aunt, Tommy's mother, has some business that she needs to attend to in town.
Yeah.
So she makes them wait in the truck while she's talking to a banker.
Yeah.
And she comes back and she doesn't have a great look on her face. Seems like she has some bad news.
Tommy knows.
We'll find out exactly what that means in a little while.
Yeah.
We get stuff like Tommy asking, "Oh, can I get a latte around here?" "Oh no, we don't have none of that fancy stuff." But while this is being said, we didn't look up, unlike some of the other movies we've watched, we didn't look up where the production took place. But even if this is in Montana,
it looked like a pretty nice
It's
town.
a Montana that has at least a decent-sized mall.
There weren't like tumbleweeds blowing down the streets or anything.
Yeah, they could have played it up a little bit more. So I think whether a Starbucks or not, he'd be able to find some kind of coffee shop in this town. But then he also says, "Oh, what's that smell?" Because manure smells bad. I'm not disagreeing with him there. He gets introduced to the farmhands, Mule and Twister. Twister, who is definitely the classic mustachioed,
he's
grizzled.
He's recognizable too. I couldn't tell you his name right now.
I want to say he in Lost he plays like one of the others that is prominent in like season 3. But
that sounds right.
I don't remember his name.
He's familiar though. You'd recognize him.
But they're both tough country folk.
Yes.
Saying, "Oh, have you even like worked a day in your life?"
Yeah, he grabs his hands and he's feeling his hands. He's like, "You don't work, boy, ahead, do you?"
"Ooh, I work you in my own way." Squeal, boy, squeal. Cue the banjos. No.
That might have happened. It's in a deleted scene.
And then we learned that Mike is going to be bunking with Tommy, which I can't remember if he's on the top bunk or the bottom bunk.
I think it's the only time we ever see really the beds.
No, we see him more, but I don't remember. I think he's actually on the bottom.
Yes.
Tommy's on the top.
When he's dinging a little triangle.
And in the room, he sees that Tommy has a picture that must have been taken at the reunion, the family reunion of Tommy with Michael. So he's getting a sense that, maybe I did fuck up a lot because this kid really idolizes me, looks up to me, and I was a total douche.
No.
Mike is talking on his phone, just walking around outside. He's complaining to Gina about his whole situation, which I question if in 1999, in the middle of where the fuck Montana, if he'd have a cell reception, but we'll suspend our disbelief for a little bit.
Still can't get reception out in Montana.
Gina is shopping like any good Californian girl and is asking for some sparkling water from one of the shop staff, which still applies today because everybody's all about that La Croix. So Tommy is giving him a taste of his own medicine, Michael, that is, because he's like, oh, this is our TV. You want to watch TV? And Mike's like, yeah, sure, I guess. And then he's like, you want to watch something with me, Tommy? And Tommy says, no, I'm going to go to bed. So it first seemed like that he does recreate the situation where Michael was always sleeping or somewhere else in California and Tommy was just watching TV.
Yeah.
But at first I thought, is Tommy punishing himself by forcing himself to go to sleep really early because Michael comments that it's still light out, but we find out that, no, that might just be Tommy's bedtime because
they have to get up at 4:30 the next morning.
And the classic way you do out in the country is you just bang a triangle.
Yes.
You know, one of those ones you'd use in music class.
Tommy's waking up Michael, and he's not into it. He's like, man, it's 4:30, man. You know, I just went to bed a couple hours ago. He's like, I'm not going to be good if I don't get a couple more hours of sleep. So Tommy
lets slip something that he had mentioned in his conversation with Gina the night before. So Michael's like, you were listening? And then Tommy's like, yeah, and I know your dad's phone number. So he's basically
rattling off 3.1415925.
Yeah, he's basically blackmailing him at this point.
Yes.
So Tommy, I enjoyed the fact that the way this movie could go is Michael's a jerk. He comes out to help Tommy. Tommy's nice to him. They get along, but there's some bumps in the road where Tommy gets his punches in on Michael, and it's fun and enjoyable.
Yes.
At breakfast, as we mentioned briefly a little bit earlier, we get another dig at some California folks because Mike asks for turkey bacon, to which Twister replies, bacon comes from a pig, not a turkey. And fucking A, I agree with Twister there.
Twister? It's like is that a rapper's name?
Twister is a rapper. He is known for his ability to rap extremely fast, as in the song Overnight Celebrity featuring one Kanye West.
Oh.
Or the Kanye West song Slow Jams. I think that's a Kanye song. Whichever, those are two songs he worked with Kanye on. And
Twister, worldwide.
In one part of that song, the girl's like, faster, faster.
Oh, wow.
And Kanye's like, I can't go that fast. And that's when Twista comes in. Check it out, guys. It's a good song.
Nice
okay.
plug.
So Mike gets assigned that day the job of shifting a giant pile of manure.
He was asked, would you like to come out and ride horses? And he's like, I got to get acclimated. So, he ends up staying on the farm. And like Lucas said, he also has to do some around the house work, which involved moving a big pile of manure.
And it's as you would imagine, basically how this scene would go. It's very comical. He's using a wheelbarrow, shoveling it in, slipping around, eventually slips and falls straight into the manure, to which all the farm hands and Tommy come back. Get to laugh at him. What? Why are you laughing? Well, why didn't you use the tractor?
Tractor? Yeah, it's right around there, right around the corner. I figured you would have seen it.
Yeah, he's like, you're in college, right? I figured you'd be smart enough to know about this mysterious tractor that's not around and to know how to drive it, because it's just like driving a car, right? No. So that is just one of a couple, or at least two, fake-out chores that Michael gets put on as Tommy sticks it to him. That night, Jules and Tommy are watching a sunset. Jules is talking to Tommy about how as we alluded to when they were in town, that she owes, or the family, the ranch owes a lot of money to the bank, and they don't have the money, and they're going to have an auction in 4 weeks where they're just going to auction off whatever there is on the farm.
Yeah.
And then that's left with, they get that money and then they'll leave the ranch behind. Oh, she asks Tommy to keep it a secret. Don't let, I guess really just Michael, but it seems like she wants it to be secret from Twister and Mule, but I think Twister and Mule know about it too. So Mike comes out to join them, and at this point Tommy turns in for the night because he's I'm whipped, Ma. He doesn't say.
He's tired.
So then Jules is talking to Mike about a treehouse that's out in the yard that Tommy and his dad had worked on before Tommy's dad died, and it's unfinished. And I wonder what that might result in later on in this movie. Next day, Tommy takes Mike out to ride horses with the group to manage the herd. But first, we get an extended scene where they're picking out which horse Mike wants to ride. Mike's horse that he gets assigned is called Slingshot, but it's a little...
He looks so sickly. He looks like he's got his hoof in the mud. He's going to be dying today.
Yeah, well, he says one hoof in the glue factory.
That's what it is.
And it's, yeah, you can see, like, the ribs have been on the horse. I think it might have been a little overblown, but Mike is not having any of it. So he picks a different horse that is first just referred to as Black. We'll also learn that it's called Black Lightning for reasons you can probably surmise. And he gets him ready, trying to, saddle up the horse. He's all ready to go, but then the horse isn't responding really well. He's shaking the reins. Mike is shaking the reins. He's not going, so then he spurs the horse, who then just starts bucking around.
Tommy had asked him, let me walk you around with him and get you used to him and get him, warmed up to you. But he's like, no, I got this. It's easy peasy.
So yeah, a little comical thing where he's getting bucked around by the horse. He gets bucked off into the pen where there's also a bull. The farm has a bull with their cattle. And he quickly gets out of the bullpen. That's the last we see of the bull, but he gets
almost
saved.
Kills him. Takes off his arm.
Somewhere in this time, they have a conversation about wild horses, that there's some wild horses nearby to the ranch that will play a role later on.
Major role.
And then we get a bit of an intense sequence where they're dealing with the cattle or new calves, where they're first lassoing the calves and then tackling them down.
Flipping them over.
In kind of extreme ways.
Aggressive.
And then branding the calves.
And the close-up shot of the brand, the burning metal being pushed into the cow's neck or whatever it was.
Which I just had to assume was fake or, could have been leather or a hide of a cattle or cow, but not a live one that was there. That seems... they do it, so it wouldn't be the worst thing for them to have in the movie.
And in the movie, they got the Humane Society approval on this film.
So it wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary for cowboys to do or for these animals to even be treated, but just the idea of having a close-up on burning flesh just seems like something they wouldn't do in DCOM.
But they did it.
Yeah, they did it in one way or the other. So after whatever that was, they were kind of in an enclosure there, but they take the group that is, so they're with Ma, or Jules, Mule, and Twister. They take the calves and cattle out to the range. They're out pasturing or whatever. They're settling down to have a night out, kind of camping, but Mike gets first watch because there's wolves about.
Wolves around here, these parts.
So, of course, his watch he spends partially on his cell phone, talking to Gina. But we're kind of getting the slow change in Michael's character.
Yes, we're about 2/3 into the movie. Maybe not quite yet.
No, not 2/3 yet.
Not quite yet, but yes. Michael's talking to Gina, and she's like looking through all of her clothes and stuff, and he's starting to look up at the sky, which suddenly turns to a pretty purple color. And there are shooting stars, and Michael's like, wow, we don't get this back home. We don't see this.
So yeah, he's distracted by the beauty of nature, and Gina is pissed because he's not paying attention.
What's more important there than talking to me, listening to what I say?
She can't compare to the majesty of Mother Nature.
And he's like, what, huh? And she's like, ugh, I'm just sick of you, just ugh. She calls back again. Yeah,
she first angrily hangs up on him.
Yes.
But then immediately calls back.
Which triggers a whole bunch of... The cow starts stampeding while he's struggling to answer the phone, and you can hear her in the background say, oh, I missed you so much. It was only like 5 seconds. Do you still love me? And the cows are running, and he's struggling to hold on to the phone.
But yeah, it's the ringtone of the cell phone. Because Michael is definitely not the type of person to put it on vibrate. Because he's just one of those guys.
So it triggers the stampede, it triggers him fumbling for the phone. He ends up getting bucked off of the horse and has to start running to get away from the cattle that are stampeding towards him. He dials 911 and he's like, there's stampede, and the 911 operator's like, where? It's right behind me.
The operator was very calm and didn't think it was a crank call, which I probably would have, but maybe, I'm no 911 operator in Montana.
So Michael has to jump up into a tree, and when he's jumping, he must lose his phone, so he's hanging onto the tree while the cows, run past him.
And I really felt the way he was hanging in the tree, it was a tree that, it was a branch he was holding onto and was kind of bending with his weight.
Might snap.
It reminded me very much of the iconic scene in The Lion King where Simba escaping from the stampede, holding out of that branch as it's falling down while the water buffalo are stampeding
Kill his
past him.
father.
Nothing that dramatic. Tommy does not die, or Michael doesn't kill Tommy's father and then tells Tommy to run away and never come back. But yeah, his phone is crashed.
Smashed. And the farmhands and Tommy and
Twist are pissed.
they're not, yeah, they're
They
like,
could call me Pista because that's how I feel right now.
oh. Tommy, I think, picks up the phone and he's like, really, kind of thing. He's like, a phone or whatever. And Twist is like,
We don't have phones on these parts.
Twisted just takes it and just chucks it on the ground, and nobody says anything, and then they just kind of walk away. And then he picks up the phone and he's like, oh man, my phone, my BlackBerry.
So Mike gets a punishment chore of hauling a bunch of lumber into a truck.
That's right.
And this turns out to be another fake out chore because the lumber he moves into a truck that's right by the lumber, but it's a truck that reasonably he could tell that maybe wouldn't work because it had like grass growing out of it. It was super rusty and run down.
Hadn't been ran in 15 years.
So yeah, he moves all of the lumber. Then Mule, one of the farmhands, is like, "You're a fucking idiot.
That truck isn't running.
You didn't know about the truck behind the barn." So it's another like, "Okay, Tommy, you're getting your punches in,
Michael,
but maybe you're going
pissed.
a little too far." Yes, Michael is extremely pissed. He tracks down Tommy.
He's like, I'm sick of this. We're even Stevens.
Yeah, he's like, I was fucking shitty, but you've been shitty too. Tommy gets mad because he says, "Hey, at one point I wish we were brothers.
Why did I look up
I
to
respected you."
Why?
And then Mike really goes in hard, and he's like, "Wait, is this all about the family reunion?"
You snot-nosed 7-year-old.
Yeah, you think I'd care that much about
Everybody
you?
was under 30. You were the only one I could talk to.
Yeah, everybody else was fucking old as fuck. No one. You think I cared about you? So
I hate you.
That was probably a bit much.
Yes.
So yeah, they're both mutually pissed. Mike
backs up the truck and leaves.
Yeah, and
And
then
Tommy just storms off on his horse.
when he takes the lumber, which is supposed to be used to mend the fence, but Mike's like, "Fuck that, I'm not doing that." And he gets a tongue lashing from Twister, the farmhand.
Because Twister comes across him sleeping on top of the truck, and he's like, I was waiting for you. And he's like, ain't that hard to replace a post, son.
He just goes into him about him basically being lazy, selfish, only caring about himself, and doesn't he know that they're about to lose the
These
ranch?
people are going to lose their farm. Mike is like, what do you mean lose the farm? They didn't tell you? Well, I probably figured you wouldn't give a damn.
Mike feels correctly bad
Yes.
and leaves early the next morning to go out and mend the fence, which
Yeah.
in the opening credits we saw that whichever Lawrence brother, I think this one is Joey who plays Mike, was one of the producers of this movie. And this scene is very good for showing off his toned
Muscles,
biceps.
His 8% body fat. He rips his shirt off and he's hammering in those posts real hard.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this is the scene where he's wearing a tank top and
They've got oil
whatever he's doing to
smeared all
clamp
over his
the
body.
like barbed wire
Really
to
making
the
his
fence.
muscles
Yeah,
flex.
they're bulging. He's working it, and
He's
I'm like,
breaking out, really veiny.
way to make me self-conscious, Disney Channel, putting out these unrealistic body images. Tommy comes riding by, and he apologizes, and Mike apologizes. They have a heart-to-heart. Mike goes back and says, "No, I really did enjoy our time at the family reunion." So they kind of come to an appreciation of each other.
This is when they're sitting on the bench that Tommy and his father had made, and they're sitting down and they're gazing upon all the wild horses in the bluff that they're on. Tommy starts naming off every horse. He's like, you don't seriously know every single horse.
How wild can they be if he feels the ownership of naming them?
Wow. Michael's like, you don't know them all, and he names them all off, and then he's like, that one's Tommy Boy. My dad had named him.
Yeah, and it's just like the real Tommy Boy, where it's sad because it's about a fucking dad dying.
So the Tommy Boy horse is real special.
So yeah, it's a nice moment, as most DCOMs have to have at least one, some kind of heart-to-heart. I enjoy that this is a new relationship that's explored. It's not father-son, brother-sister, whatever.
Cousin-brother.
Yeah.
Cousin.
Yeah, it's kind of brother, but it's cousin in this situation.
And this is 2/3 through the movie, like literally like an hour in, there's a half an hour left.
Yeah, overall the structure of this movie is pretty good. It doesn't really feel too rushed overall. There's one scene coming up that I thought was maybe kind of arrived at
Hokey.
quickly. But overall, pretty good structure, good setup. We get multiple settings. We get the funness of California as well as the ranch setting. So Mike, during the situation, asks him, that is Tommy, about why he didn't tell him about that they were losing the ranch. And Tommy says, well, I didn't think you would care. He says that they're having the auction next week, but Mike is leaving for his trip with Gina tomorrow, so
Yes.
like, what the fuck do you care? So at this point, Mike, we get a scene where he's doing his best Kevin Bacon from Footloose, where instead of dancing his rage out, he's riding Black Lightning very hard to, I don't know what destination, but he comes back to the farmhouse where he uses their landline, call home since his cell phone is trashed. He talks to his dad about the ranch. His dad knew that they were losing it. He said that he had already offered Jules some money. She didn't want it. He said it could be a loan, but she didn't want it because she was probably worried she couldn't pay it back.
It's that blood money.
And Michael just can't understand why. What's up with his pride? Why wouldn't they take the money? It'd be so easy. And one of the main themes or messages of the movie is not everything can be easy, or money can't solve everything. But once we get to the end of the movie, it does turn out that some things can be even easier than we would actually imagine.
Yeah.
But Mike is on the case. He's trying to figure out some way to rustle up some money. He tries to get Twister, Mule, Tommy. He's pitching this business idea to Twister specifically that is essentially a pyramid scheme. And Twister, he wasn't born yesterday, so he can tell that this A will not work and B is also probably illegal. And that even if they were able to get this money, that Jules is still prideful enough that she wouldn't end up taking the money even if they raised it by whatever means.
Yeah.
So some point that day or the next day, Tommy and Jules are off to go to some local barbecue shindig, and Mike stays behind. And to give back, he goes and works on Tommy's treehouse and finishes his treehouse because despite hardly working a day in his life, it seems, he is an accomplished carpenter.
Master carpenter.
And also very quick. So he finishes the treehouse while it's still light out.
Yeah.
So it's not even like a full day has passed or anything.
A couple hours, he's done with the treehouse. Tommy and Jewel are pulling up, and Tommy he's immediately pissed. Here Michael is, he's so happy. He's like, hey, buddy, I got it all finished for you. And Tommy he's crying. He's like, that was for me and my dad. My dad did finish. And he climbs up the treehouse and just starts ripping it apart. He's hitting off the railings that Michael's built. And
he literally kicks one of the railings off. It's pretty funny.
He's pissed.
And this is the scene I felt was kind of rushed to. Like, I think is a very reasonable reaction. I think Tommy, maybe his actor, I think Andrew Lawrence, wasn't maybe of the caliber at the time to really sell these kinds of emotions. And just, it seemed rushed too. It could have been a more powerful moment, but it just happens really quickly. He comes out of the truck, immediately mad, goes to demolish it, and then runs inside. And this is over the course of 30 seconds. And it's basically never really addressed again as far as the great emotions he has with his treehouse and his dad. It was an interesting thing because when the treehouse was first established, I definitely figured, they're going to work on it together. It'll be a great bonding thing for them. Spoiler alert, they still do work on it together, but this was an interesting wrinkle, adds some emotional depth to the characters, even if it's not the most well acted. So Mike has a phone conversation that night with Gina where he's talking about how all this terrible shit's happening to them. He feels so bad. And Gina's like, that's really depressing. Can we talk about me? Let's talk about me. And this is, you can see at this point, Michael is really starting to feel distant from Gina. He now knows about hardship. He knows about hard work.
Yeah.
And
he likes the hard work. He's like, yeah, okay, I gotta go. I gotta get up early in the morning. She's like, this is like a reverse. You gotta get up. What do you mean? Those words are swear words in your dictionary.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't need to be Southern. She is definitely not Southern. But yeah, he has a different appreciation of life, and it just seems that Gina can't relate because she is also in the seat of privilege, spoiled, having everything handed to her, which Michael was too, but he has gone on the Paris Hilton trip to learn more about life. Next day, Tommy rushes up to Michael, seemingly forgiving him for working on his treehouse, because Tommy says that Tommy Boy, not to be confused with Tommy has not fallen down a well, but Tommy Boy, the wild horse, has fallen into a mud pit and could potentially die. So we get a dramatic sequence where they're riding off there and they're got a rope, they're lassoing it around Tommy Boy. Tommy's getting all up in the mud, getting just completely covered.
Getting dirty.
Tommy Boy's freaking out as they're trying to pull him out. And then this is where Tommy just goes up and calms him down. And it didn't really hit me, but Jacob, rightfully, I think.
Horse sense.
He got the horse sense.
That horse sense.
They needed to hit it home. I mean, I kind of like that they didn't try to establish it as, oh, he's a prodigy, some fantastical power. There's not some onlooker. I'll be that boy there got the horse sense. He got the shine on for them horses.
So he's calming down good old Tommy Boy.
Yeah, he's Caesar Ramon of horses. He's a horse whisperer.
He's all dirty in the mud.
He saves the horse. Save Tommy Boy. He gets to run off because he's still a wild, wild horse.
Yeah.
Then they're going back home. Jules comes out. Oh, wow, you're really dirty. Because at this point, Michael really wasn't dirty at all. Tommy, though, looked like
covered in
mud.
Like Michael falling in the horse poop. Tommy's covered in...
True. I was going to go for a little more fun comparison that, like another Disney property, Winnie the Pooh, when he is trying to get the honey from the honey tree that's full of bees, and he's the little black rain cloud. He covers himself in mud. But Jules isn't so worried about how dirty Tommy is. She's worried that Mike is going to be late to his plane trip. He's got to get to the airport. Yeah. So Michael gets cleaned up. Jules drives him off in the truck.
But wait!
We get a nice little scene.
We get little Tommy pulling up, not in a vehicle alongside the vehicle.
High speed chase in a tractor.
Okay. We got Tommy pulling up on, I don't know which one of the horses he was riding, but he's pulling up alongside and he's like, "Hey, Michael, I want you to have this," and he passes off the trusty whistle meant for Michael. He was going to give it to him in California, but now he finally feels that he can truly give it to him.
He's earned it.
He's earned the magic whistle. The horse whistle.
And Michael recognizes it as a similar one that he got at the reunion.
It's like, oh, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, not really sure the difference, but Tommy's like, yeah, I made another one. Yeah. So back in California, he arrives safely, and Mike is back to his old ways almost, where he's at the track with Gina and Daddy, betting on the ponies. Gina's dad, at some point, we didn't bring it up in a conversation, but Gina mentions that her dad bought a horse because, I don't know, he likes horses or some shit.
Horses.
So
but we see Michael, he's not like cheering him on, he's just really like watching them gallop and like...
He's seeing the jockeys hit the side of them, so he's maybe picking up on how Tommy feels that
they could just horses.
They could be abused, but at the same time, I mean, yes, I'm not going to say that race horses... Some of them get treated well when they win and get to retire, but if they break a leg, they basically get shot because they're not good anymore.
Yeah.
And cowboys or farmhands definitely treat their horses better, but they're still spurring them. They're hitting them with metal spikes on their boots, so they're not completely blameless. If you want to have a horse, have a good time, let it be one of them wild horses like Tommy Boy over there.
Tommy Boy.
So Gina's wins. Horse, yeah, he wins. So Gina, Mike.
Tommy's there in the background. He's like, those bastards.
Too many Tommies. So Gina, Mike, and Daddy get to go down to take pictures by the horse. I was waiting for you to... But there's too many dead parents in this. So it's not really clear what spooks the horse. It could have been...
The pictures. I think it was the photographs, the flash.
That's likely, but they don't really establish what it is. But the horse is rearing up. I think it knocks the jockey that was on it off.
The jockey falls off, but here's Michael, quick to action. He's grabbing the reins of the horse. He's stroking its mane. He's stroking its side of its cheeks on its face.
Yeah, careful there.
And he's like, "It's okay. It's all good." He's hugging it, and the dad's like, "Let a professional do that, Michael." And he's like, "No, I got this." And
calms it down.
Calms down the winning horse.
And then somebody in the audience is like, "By God, that boy there got the horse sense."
Ding, 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 ding.
So we have a title, but not really. No, nobody says that, but it's seemingly that I guess it runs in the family, but maybe skips around generations or down the tree.
Yeah.
That Michael now possesses the horse sense as well. So Michael is back at his parents' house, and he's about to leave on his trip to Europe with Gina's family.
Gina's pulling up in her fancy little vehicle.
But he decides to not go.
He, fakes her out. He's walking out there. The
big
chauffeur,
limo.
Chauffeur's about to take his bag, and he's like, no, I got this. Brushes him off, and he's like, Janina, I can't.
Her name is not Janina.
It's like,
he used her
Janina.
Full name that had not been mentioned in the movie.
Genuine. Fancy time.
So yeah, he goes on a trip about town where he first sells the Porsche at some car lot. Then he goes to, I guess, his family's accountant of some kind and liquidates some of his trust fund's assets. Get a stack of undisclosed
bills,
change, and then he returns to the ranch. He goes
check
up
in hand.
Yeah, he goes up to Jules, gives her a check, which she refuses.
She rips up and blows it in his face.
She does not do that. You have me questioning if she ripped it up, but no, she says she can't take it, and he says, oh, but I'm not giving it to you, it's an investment, I believe in the ranch.
We've invested way too much into this, you just gotta know when enough's enough.
You're like, clearly you're very bad in college, because this is a terrible investment.
We've taken out loans before, we can't pay them back after Papa died. We just can't do it anymore.
And this was even before the recession in 2008. So... She can't take the money, but she appreciates the offer.
It comes from the heart.
Yeah,
we appreciate where it comes from.
It's coming from the right place.
Don't lose that.
So at the auction, they're bringing out all the furniture from the house, and this is a very contrived scene where there's a big chest that Tommy and Michael are carrying together.
Yes.
Michael's like, Jesus Christ, what's in here? And Tommy's, oh, I just got some of my old schoolwork, so... For whatever reason, Michael really wants to look at the schoolwork, so they open the chest. He first takes a paper and sees that he got an A+ on it, and he tells Tommy, not bad, which I thought was funny because literally nothing is better than A+. It is the best he can do.
Way to go, bud.
But then he has an epiphany, or he remembers his paper that he got a D on,
yes.
Which is in what class? Land trust, or whatever the fuck. So he rushes inside, calls his dad, tells him to find his paper, to look at it. And he's like, oh, you sure? You did fucking terrible on it. Yeah, it's fine. So his dad reads him off something. We don't know quite what, but Mike has a plan. He goes out, gets on Black Lightning, and just leaves the auction behind. Gets into town where he goes and meets with Jules' banker.
Yeah.
And gives a reasonable spiel where he's like, do you really want to foreclose on this ranch? You've already foreclosed on so many. It was established that cattle prices were bad. A lot of ranches in the area were having troubles and getting foreclosed on. And he says, you foreclosed on 16 ranches, but none of them have sold, and you're losing money unless they sell. And the banker's like, okay, you make a good point. But then he also says, Jules' farm could meet requirements for a land trust. And then, I don't know, it would make the bank money or something. I don't really quite know. So at the auction, Mike comes back on a horse. The auctioneer's on the back of a truck rattling off.
He's like, wait, stop everything.
And there's a gasp from the crowd. Oh! Shrek comes into the church and says, I'm
a believer, I'm going to be here.
So then he gets on the microphone, Michael that is, and says, this auction is canceled. Sell no more.
Yeah. But they've already sold everything.
Yeah. But Jules is pissed, says, no, stop it. I know what you're trying to do, but we need this money. And Michael goes, au contraire, Aunt Julie. He says that the land that they own meets the requirements of undisclosed land trust because there's wild horses on it.
Yes.
Which means that it can be bought up and by a land trust. I assume it's something put out or some program by the government. Yeah. It's not really clear because this is a DCOM. It's not super important.
So what he said is you would no longer own the land, but you could live on here and you would get paid to take care of it.
Yes, not only would their debt be forgiven by whatever the land trust is buying the land for, but that they'd be allowed to stay and manage it.
And get paid.
But it's like only part of their land has the wild horses on it, and then it's like do they keep their cattle and stuff on there? Because
knows?
that shouldn't be included.
That's not...
It seems very questionable, and I don't really buy it, but...
It's a DCOM. It's got a good
The family buys
ending.
it. Hey, the government buys it, supposedly. Yeah. So, yay, it's all good. And Mike asks Tommy and Jules if it's okay if he can stay at the ranch a little bit longer so he can help out and learn more about himself and Tommy and life. And then we get a final shot where Tommy asks Mike for some help on the treehouse because he fucked it up after Mike tried to be nice to him. So a good finishing shot. Maybe could have been drawn out a little bit longer because it gets cut fairly abruptly of them working on the treehouse, and then we get a country little violin tune at the end for the credits, and no freeze frame, no slow mo, just horse sense.
Horse sense.
The mutual horse sense between cousin brothers.
Cousin brothers. Oh boy, that was good.
Yeah, it was a good, very
wholesome film.
Yeah, very much could be an ABC Family type movie thing.
Yeah.
Didn't set our world on fire, but I think it was still enjoyable enough for us. Had some fun moments. I enjoyed the new familial dynamic of cousin rivalry or anger and growth.
Yeah, didn't blow us out of the water. I mean, I don't know where I would rank it on my list, but it's not at the bottom. It's I don't know if I can put it really on. It was just a good movie. I don't know. It wasn't like
where we're sitting at. This
crazy.
Is the 12th one we should have watched. So I'd say middle of the pack. Yeah. It's not. It has a good message. It's mostly well constructed.
Not crazy awesome, not terrible.
It's
stupid.
not boring for us like Johnny Tsunami, or at least for me. It's not offensive like You Lucky Dog. It's not. It doesn't have. Well, it does have shitty main characters, or at least a shitty main character. But unlike something like The 13th Year, where you're supposed to, I think his name was Cody in that.
Cody.
He was not likable, but in this, you're not supposed to like Michael, and he is. In some ways, just as unlikable as Cody.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say very middle of the pack, maybe just because we have watched some good ones, maybe a little bit lower on there, but overall, can't complain. And we have, I can't remember what it's called, but something exciting in the future.
Up and Away?
Well, related to Horse Sense, that there's an actual sequel where, I don't know the complete context.
Horse Sense, SCENTS.
No.
A sequel.
It's like Washed Away or something like that, where
island,
they get stranded. Tommy and Michael, I believe, somehow get stranded on an island. A twist you would not think a movie like Horse Sense could be about. I actually thought when I was first reading some of the plot synopsis of this that it might involve Tommy and Michael bonding over training like a racehorse so Michael could impress his girlfriend's dad, which would have been much more of a shitty kind of thematic direction to take it in. So that was another episode for us.
A little shorter one?
Yeah, a little bit of a shorter one. So again, if you'd like to email us, please email us. I feel kind of sad putting this out here all the time, but email us. You don't need to give us it doesn't even need to be DCOM related. You can ask us what our favorite food is, what our favorite color is. It's, you almost got me. You almost got a free one there, but I'm not going to tell you what my favorite color is. I'll tell you what it isn't. Red. Red sucks. Okay.
Wow.
But if you do want to email us, it can be at awholenewpod@gmail.com. And in lieu of an email, as we sometimes do, being in the business of DCOMs, we sometimes search around online. And when we were looking for, in this case, an image to be used for our Genius episode, we came across an ill-fated blog that somebody had online where they were writing about DCOMs, where at this point, they made it up to Genius, and that was the last movie they reviewed as a DCOM.
Yeah. And
it was ill-fated. He never wrote again, so we've already beaten out this random guy's blog, and this specific blog was, Genius would have been better if it was rated PG-13, and it was just a raunchy college comedy. And I just enjoyed this because we can have differing opinions and viewpoints. But looking over this guy's short-lived blog, it seemed like almost every DCOM opinion he had was the opposite of what we had. He really liked Johnny Tsunami. He thought it improved on what Brink did wrong.
Oh my.
So for us, we're like, what the fuck did Brink do wrong? They're not showing Johnny Tsunami in Horse Sense. They're showing Brink.
That's right.
His genius, he seemed to like the college stuff more than the middle school stuff with Chaz Anthony. If this guy wrote Genius, Chaz Anthony wouldn't even be in the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, he liked 13th Year, I think. And there's been some lists around because mine in the 90s nostalgia, I think like Variety or Entertainment Weekly that I was looking at, of all DCOMs ranked or the top 30 ranked. And we see some disparities with what we feel where I think I saw, Brink was maybe rated a little lower on some. 13th Year, for both lists I saw, people actually seemed to like it. And Halloween Town was fairly high ranked.
Halloween Town's a classic. It's probably the top 5 most known.
I mean, it seems
3.
to get by on like name recognition, but seemingly the people making these lists did watch the movies again, but I disagree with them.
But did they watch all 100 plus? You gotta wonder. You really do.
I do. But that's something we're slowly giving out all of our feelings about these different movies.
Yes.
And maybe we'll have milestone episodes, maybe like 50 or, well, if we get to 100, then we're almost through all the DCOMs.
Well, by then they'll have like 5 more out.
Yeah, they definitely are on a slower trickle.
Yeah,
this next year we're looking at, though, 2000, is the year of the DCOM.
The year of our DCOMs.
Where they were in full swing, we get 12. One per month. The most that there's ever been for a single year of DCOMs.
The most there ever will be.
There's another one, I think, with 10. But yeah, it definitely slows down to recent years where there's only been maybe like 1 to 3 a year. So we still have a lot to get through. We're not going to outpace them for at least a little while. But we might have to touch base and have long deliberation episodes about which DCOM truly reigns supreme.
I'd like
the internet is all ablaze with tier lists, power rankings of fast food chains, and everything under the sun. So maybe we'll have to
need more DCOM.
Release an official, a whole new pod DCOM power rankings
That'd be
list.
A fun little bonus like that.
So if you want to give your own power rankings or mention something along those lines, again, the email is awholenewpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @awholenewpod. Which Jacob needs to be better at about
it'll be updated this week.
Which I'll just say now, generally my approach is if we're on schedule for doing these episodes every 2 weeks, you can expect them that Monday. Not a specific time, just sometime on Monday.
It's a good
should
time.
Be the day you can expect a whole new pod. Whether it's 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out, it should be on a Monday. We like to record them on the weekend, and I try to get them out as soon as I can on Monday. So I think this one, it doesn't matter to tell you now, but this one should come out early on Monday, hopefully. So look forward to a whole new pod. We're sticking this is the second in a row we stuck to one every 2 weeks.
Getting into a rhythm.
Yeah.
Feeling good.
Jacob, feel free to, I dare to say, plug your Twitter. But
JACOB_TELLIJOHN, Jacob Telejohn on Twitter. Check it out. Hit that follow button.
I won't rob you of the right. And I think Jacob, he had an intro of his own in mind, but I said save it for the outro. The outro because it's bad. But I feel trepidatious throwing it to Jacob for his Twitter and now this. But I guess Jacob, take it away.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the bag.
All right, I was gonna see how long you went, and that won't date this episode. That won't date this episode at all.
It was long enough.
I wanted to be a cowboy, baby. I wanted to be a cowboy, baby.